I love trying new tools. They're great, but they can be a bit like a sap tap. Focus too much on them and they can take all your energy. I could spend all day trying a new tool, making my templates, getting to know it, but by the time I'm actually proficient with it, I've discovered a shiny new one and I'm starting all over again. To prevent you from making those same mistakes, today we're going to talk about 5 of the main and most important tools that I recommend you use when doing software development. And there are 2 main types of tool that we're going to be talking about. They are the collaboration tools for like code sharing and project planning, and there's also some software development tools to make us more productive as developers. Let's start off by talking about collaboration tools, and there are 2 main types of collaboration tools that I use. There's the project planning tools and there's the code sharing tools. In terms of project planning, my favorite tool is Notion. Here is my usual starter setup for a new project when I'm using Notion. We've got down here a board, which is the backlog. We have the product backlog, where we put everything that we're going to be working on in a project. Whenever we start a new sprint, normally 2 to 4 weeks, we put the things that we're planning into the sprint backlog, and then as we create them, we put them into in progress and then completed, and at the end of the sprint, we sort of review them, as we talked about in the last video, and then eventually we put them into archived. This is something that Trello can do for you as well, but Notion is just a little bit more flexible. The backlog here is a database, so you can essentially modify all sorts of things within this database, and that's something that Trello sort of limits you because they want you to pay. Notion is free, by the way, for personal use, so you can use this very easily. One of the key things about Notion that Trello doesn't have are things like documents. Before using Notion, we often were talking about new things to do in our projects and changes that we wanted to make and so forth in chats or in voice chats. Whenever we want to discuss something important or large, we create a document and we write in here everything that we mean. It's easier when you can take a bit longer to write things, to express yourself a bit more clearly, which is very important. So that is something that Notion can do for you that is really useful. The other thing is that this project setup here, which by the way, I'm going to leave linked in the description below in case you want to copy it, you can add anything else you want. And some of my projects have to-do lists here for like individual people, or in this case, we've got here a list of meetings that are coming up just for this project. So with some smart setup in Notion, you can do this sort of stuff. So Notion is really powerful, I really like it, and it is what we use at Teclado for our internal projects. Let's talk about code sharing. Code sharing is a key part of software development. You basically need to learn about Git in order to work in a software team. And most teams are using Git these days to collaborate, and we're no different. I use Git every day, and there are a lot of different websites that can host your Git projects. GitHub is one of those sites. There's others like Bitbucket and GitLab, but GitHub is the tool of choice for most companies. GitHub not only allows you to upload your code and share it with other people, but it's also got things like issues where you can create, problems in the code or new features that you want to implement, and it can keep track of those. You've got pull requests that are the way for teams and different people to collaborate in one project, as well as a bunch more stuff that you can use here in GitHub. It's all free, by the way. So in order to collaborate with other developers using Git, you work through something called the GitHub flow. And I'm going to leave that linked in the description below. You've got different branches of code when you're working with Git. And whenever you're starting a new feature or fixing a bug or something like that, you create a new branch, do your work there, and before you join your code or merge your code with the existing application code, you make a pull request, and that gives your teammates the opportunity to review your code, and you can share your knowledge with them or they with you. And so it's a great opportunity for learning. In addition, whenever you make changes in GitHub or when you create a pull request, GitHub can also integrate with other third-party tools to do some automation on your code. For example, it can run your tests or it can build your app, stuff like that, to make sure that your code is working correctly before you merge it with your main application code. That brings us to continuous integration. So here we've got an example of one of the projects that we've got internally. And what we've set up with GitHub is that every time we make a commit, this tool, CircleCI, which is called, runs the code, verifies that it's working, so that whenever we want to merge the code into the main application branch, we know that it's working, and it can also do more as well as just running your code. One of the things that it can do as well is it can deploy your application for you when you merge your code into a specific branch. So in most of our projects, we have a branch called release. And when we make a pull request against that branch, the team gets together, we review the code, and then we merge it, and a tool like CircleCI, a continuous integration tool, automatically releases that and makes it available to our students. And so tools like this with this automation allow you to stay in the right track via running your tests and your code, but it can also save you a lot of time with doing things like automatic releases. It might seem like a lot of work to set it up, but it's really not. It's one file in the repository, and once you add it in and you press a button in CircleCI, it'll automatically sync up and it will do everything for you. So once you've got it set up, it saves you a lot of time and headaches. All right. Enough of collaboration tools. Let's get to the coding tools. So what things do I use in my day-to-day to be more productive as a developer? And there's really two things. A strong editor setup that lets you do everything that you need to do with your code, from writing to running the code to debugging, that's a key one, running your tests, etc. So a strong IDE or editor setup that lets you do all of those things very easily and it doesn't get in your way. And the second thing is a set of automations that save time and when you want to fix or improve your code. So let's start with the editor. This video is not sponsored by PyCharm, but I have yet to find an editor that helps you as much as PyCharm does. And there's a few things that PyCharm does that no other editor does well. All other editors I've tried, and I've tried a lot of them, always seem to get in the way. The main thing is the debugger. In PyCharm, because it's so geared to Python code, it's already got all the defaults set up. Make the breakpoint, you press the wee debug icon there, and your code will automatically stop there. You don't have to really think about it. The debugger that it comes with is also really powerful. It lets you do all sorts of stuff and it's really intuitive. The other thing that PyCharm has are run configurations. And those are these things up on the top right, and we can save many different run configurations so that running our unit tests, for example, is at the click of a button. Running our system tests is at the click of a different button. The other thing is that it's really convenient for navigating your code and refactoring. It's really easy once you know how to use PyCharm to simply select a piece of code and go to refactor and extract things into variables or parameters or methods. It's really quite convenient in that way, and it can speed you up a lot. There's been a couple of times when I'm using PyCharm that I've thought, it would be nice if I could extract this into a method or a function, but I'm not exactly sure how to do that. And you just select it and extract it with PyCharm, and it creates a solution for you that sometimes can be quite nice and not exactly what you would do yourself. So it's pretty sweet in that way. Something else that PyCharm has in the professional edition is connections with other tools are very integrated, like databases, a connection with Git, potentially with Docker. It can automatically spin up Docker containers. The second type of coding tools that I use all the time are automations to either help you write your code better, such as the case of linters and formatters, or to stop you from forgetting to run the aforementioned tools. And so in terms of linters and formatters, I really recommend that at the very least you use a linter. If you're working on your own, you don't need a formatter that often, but a linter will review your code and tell you whether you've got any potential errors. For example, things can be as simple as you declared a variable but you didn't use it, or maybe you tried to call a method on an object but it doesn't have that method, or it can be things like you've got your lines are too long, but you can normally configure them very heavily to suit your needs. And the linter that I use the most often is called Flake 8, extremely configurable, and it integrates with PyCharm quite well, although it can be a bit finicky to set up. So I'm gonna actually leave a guide to how to set up Flake 8 with PyCharm down in the description below as well. The next category of tools are formatters, and a formatter will take your code and it will essentially reformat it and make it look pretty while keeping the functionality the same. They don't only make your code look pretty, they can also help make your code more readable by adhering to a specific style that everybody that writes code in your team should adhere to. So if you have many different people writing code slightly differently, you can run everybody's code through the same formatter and it will end up looking as though the same person wrote it. So when you come back and you want to read that code as a third person, it's a bit easier because you don't have to keep in mind the different styles of the different people who wrote it. So I like the tool called Black as a formatter. It's not so configurable as some of the other ones, but what you gain in exchange is it's very easy to set up, and the style guide that it has is pretty good. So I'm happy with the style that that gives me in my code. We use that when we're working on projects together over at Teclado as well. Finally, you may want to run these tools as well as your automated tests before you make commits into Git. And for that, I use a tool called pre-commit. It is actually a Python package. You can install it in your virtual environment and then you can run a couple of commands. And what it does is it takes a configuration and it creates a set of programs that will run before you make your commits or before you push to GitHub. For example, you can make it run your tests every time you make a commit, you can make it run the black formatter every time you make a commit, and you can potentially make it run all your system tests and integration tests before you push to GitHub. So there's a lot of configuration that you can do with that, but I use it to make sure that I don't forget to run those automations that are so useful. That's about it from me. Those are the tools that I use almost every day when coding, and particularly when coding in Python, but there's equivalents for other programming languages as well. These tools help keep me right, and they also save a lot of time. So I recommend that you use them as well. And if you're not writing tests already and worrying about, these small dark errors in your code and so forth, I recommend that you start doing that, and these tools are going to help keep you right. Are you using these tools already? Or maybe you're going to start using them after this video? Or do you have any other tools that you think I should know about and potentially start using? Let me know down in the comments below. I really want to know more about your development workflow as well. Just as a reminder, this video is a follow-up on our Breaking Down Software Projects video. You can find that one linked in the description below. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe and flick the bell to get notified when we post more. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for joining me in this one, and I'll see you in the next one.